are a wicked witch. You killed my only son. Useless, silly, pregnant woman.
Every single day, my mother-in-law whipped me while I was on my knees scrubbing floors, 7 months pregnant and grieving my husband. I thought it would never end, until the front door exploded open and armed military stormed in. Hello friends, welcome to our channel. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My colleague said I wouldn't even reach 10,000 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show them that these tales matter and comment where you are watching from. My name is Aisha, and this is the story of how I survived hell. 3 years ago, I married the love of my life, David. He was a special forces operator, strong, kind, with a smile that could light up the darkest room. We met at a community center where I volunteered teaching kids. He was there for a charity event. 6 months later, we were married in a small ceremony. His mother, Mama Ruth, seemed welcoming at first. She hugged me, called me daughter, said she was happy David found someone. But I noticed small things, the way she'd correct how I cooked, how I dressed, how I spoke. David would laugh it off, saying that's just how she is, she means well. I ignored the red flags because I loved him so much. Then I got pregnant. David was ecstatic, we both were. He'd talk to my belly every night, promising our baby adventures and protection. But 2 months into my pregnancy, David was deployed on a classified mission. He kissed me goodbye, promised he'd be back for the birth. That was the last time I saw him alive. The notification came on a rainy Tuesday. 2 officers at my door, faces solemn. David had been killed in action, details classified. My world shattered. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I was 4 months pregnant and suddenly a widow. Mama Ruth's reaction was strange. She didn't cry at the funeral. She stared at me with cold eyes, whispering just loud enough for me to hear, "You did this, you cursed my son." After the funeral, I had nowhere to go. My own parents had passed years before. I had no siblings, no close family. Mama Ruth insisted I move into her house, said it's what David would have wanted. I was too broken to argue. The first week was quiet. She left me alone in David's old room, brought me food. I thought maybe grief would unite us. I was wrong. It started small. She'd comment on how much I was eating, saying I was getting fat, not just pregnant. She'd criticize how I kept the room, how I dressed. Then came the chores. She said since I was living under her roof eating her food, I needed to contribute. Fair enough. I started helping with dishes, laundry, cooking. But it was never enough. She'd inspect my work, find faults that didn't exist. The dishes had spots, the floors had streaks, the laundry wasn't folded right. One morning, 5 months pregnant, she woke me at 5 a.m. She said from now on, you scrub the floors every day before breakfast. I said Mama Ruth, I'm pregnant, maybe I could do lighter tasks. Her face twisted with rage. She said my son is dead because of you, the least you can do is earn your keep, now get on your knees and scrub. I was terrified. I got down on my knees with a bucket and brush, started scrubbing the kitchen floor. My back ached, my knees throbbed, but I kept going. That's when she hit me the first time. A wooden spoon across my shoulders. Not hard enough to seriously injure, but hard enough to hurt. She said faster, you're lazy just like I thought. I scrubbed faster, tears streaming down my face. This became my daily routine. Wake at 5, scrub floors on my knees for 2 hours, cook breakfast, clean the entire house, cook lunch, more cleaning, cook dinner. And if I slowed down or complained, she'd hit me. The wooden spoon became a belt. The belt became a thin whip she kept in the kitchen. But what she didn't know was that David had left me something that would eventually save my life. I found it one night while searching through David's belongings for comfort. A small locked box hidden in his closet. Inside was a letter addressed to me, dated 2 days before his deployment. It said, "My love, if you're reading this, something happened to me. I need you to know I've arranged for my unit to check on you and the baby every 3 months. My brothers will protect you. There's a contact number below, Captain Marcus Hayes, my commanding officer. If you ever need help, call him. Trust my team." I held that letter to my chest and sobbed. David had thought of everything. But 3 months had already passed since his death, and no one had come. I didn't have access to a phone. Mama Ruth had taken mine, said I didn't need distractions. I was completely isolated. The abuse escalated. At 6 months pregnant, Mama Ruth started accusing me of infidelity. She'd scream that the baby probably wasn't even David's, that I was a whore who trapped her son. I'd beg her to stop, swearing I was faithful, but she wouldn't listen. The whippings got worse. She'd make me kneel in the kitchen, lift my shirt, and lash my back. She was careful to avoid my stomach. She wanted the baby, just not me. She'd say this baby is a Hale, my grandchild, but you're nothing, once it's born I'm throwing you out. I lived in constant fear. I was trapped, pregnant, with no money, no phone, no way to contact anyone. I thought about running, but where would I go? I had nothing. Then came the day I almost lost my baby. I was 7 months pregnant, scrubbing the bathroom floor. Mama Ruth came in, saw a spot I'd missed, and flew into a rage. She grabbed the whip and started hitting me repeatedly. I tried to protect myself, curled into a ball, begging her to stop. That's when I felt it, a sharp pain in my abdomen. I screamed. Blood started seeping through my dress. Mama Ruth stopped hitting me when she saw the blood. For a moment, I thought she'd feel remorse, call for help. Instead, she said if you lose that baby, it's your own fault for being weak. Then she walked out, leaving me bleeding on the bathroom floor. I managed to crawl to my room, every movement agony. The pain subsided after an hour, the bleeding slowed. My baby was still moving, still fighting. I whispered, I'm sorry, Mama's going to protect you, I promise. That night, I made a decision. I had to escape. I waited until Mama Ruth was asleep, snuck downstairs to her purse, and took $40, all the cash she had. I found an old phone in a drawer, not activated but it could call 911. I hid both in my room. My plan was to wait until she left for her weekly church meeting, then run to the neighbor's house and call for help. But I didn't get the chance. The next morning, Mama Ruth found the money missing. She stormed into my room, grabbed me by my hair, dragged me to the kitchen. She screamed, you're a thief now. After everything I've done for you. I tried to explain but she wasn't listening. She tied my hands to the kitchen chair with rope, said you're going to sit here all day without food or water until you learn respect. I sat there for 8 hours. My baby kicked frantically, I was dizzy from dehydration. When she finally untied me at dinner time, I could barely stand. She shoved a plate of scraps at me, leftovers she wouldn't even feed a dog. I ate because my baby needed it. That's when I heard it, a knock at the door. Mama Ruth froze. She wasn't expecting anyone. She whispered, if you make a sound, I'll kill you. She went to answer it. I heard a man's voice asking for Aisha Hale. Mama Ruth said there's no one here by that name. The voice said, ma'am, we're from David Hale's unit, we're here for a welfare check on his widow. My heart stopped. David's team had finally come. Mama Ruth tried to close the door but the man's boot stopped it. He said, ma'am, we have orders to visually confirm Mrs. Hale's well-being, please step aside. Mama Ruth's voice turned sweet, fake. She said, oh of course, she's just resting, she's been so emotional since David passed, let me get her. She turned to me with murder in her eyes, whispered, you say one word about anything and I'll make sure you never see that baby. She untied me, yanked me up, positioned me in the doorway. I saw 3 soldiers in uniform. The one in front, tall with kind eyes, said, Mrs. Hale, I'm Captain Marcus Hayes, David's commanding officer. We're here to check on you as David requested. I wanted to scream. To tell them everything. But Mama Ruth had her hand on my shoulder, squeezing hard, nails digging into my skin. I said, I'm fine, thank you for checking. Captain Hayes looked at me closely. He said, ma'am, you look thin, are you eating properly, getting prenatal care? Mama Ruth jumped in, oh yes, I take her to every appointment, she's just naturally petite. It was a lie. I hadn't seen a doctor since David's death. Captain Hayes said, we'd like to come in and talk, make sure you have everything you need. Mama Ruth said this isn't a good time, she needs rest. But one of the other soldiers, a younger guy, was looking past us into the house. He said, Captain, I see rope on that chair, and is that blood on the floor? Everything happened so fast. Captain Hayes pushed past Mama Ruth, the other soldiers followed. They saw the whip on the counter, the rope, the blood stains I hadn't been able to fully clean. Captain Hayes looked at me and said, Mrs. Hale, are you safe here? That's when I broke. I started sobbing, words pouring out. I told them about the beatings, the starvation, the abuse, everything. Mama Ruth started screaming that I was lying, that I was unstable, that I'd tried to hurt myself. But the soldiers weren't listening to her. If this story is moving you, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think should happen to Mama Ruth. Captain Hayes radioed for backup and medical. He said, "Ma'am, you're safe now, we're getting you out of here." Mama Ruth went ballistic. She lunged at me, screaming, "You ungrateful witch, I gave you everything." One of the soldiers caught her, restrained her. She fought like a wild animal, cursing me, cursing David, saying I'd destroyed her family. The paramedics arrived within minutes. They checked my vitals, the baby's heartbeat. The EMT said, "You're severely malnourished and dehydrated, we need to get you to the hospital immediately." As they loaded me into the ambulance, I saw police arrive. Captain Hayes was giving a statement, pointing to the evidence inside. Mama Ruth was being handcuffed. Still screaming. At the hospital, doctors confirmed my baby was okay, but I was in critical condition. I'd lost dangerous amounts of weight, had infections from untreated wounds, was severely anemic. They admitted me immediately, started 4 fluids and monitoring. Captain Hayes visited me that evening. He said, "I'm so sorry we didn't come sooner, there was a mix-up with the address on file, we went to your old apartment first, then had to track down where you'd moved." He explained that David had specifically requested quarterly welfare checks, made his unit promise to watch over me. He said, "David loved you more than anything, he'd be devastated to know what you went through." I asked what would happen to Mama Ruth. He said she's been arrested for assault, false imprisonment, and elder abuse laws are being applied. The evidence is overwhelming, she's not getting out. Over the next 2 weeks, I recovered in the hospital. Social workers helped me apply for military widow benefits I didn't know existed. David's life insurance, which Mama Ruth had hidden from me, was substantial. I wasn't destitute. I had options. The best news came at week 8 of my hospital stay. At 38 weeks pregnant, my baby girl was born. 7 pounds, healthy, perfect. I named her Nadia, after David's grandmother. When I held her for the first time, I cried for hours. She had David's eyes, his nose. She was the piece of him that survived. Captain Hayes and several soldiers from David's unit visited, brought gifts, offered support. They said David was family, which made Nadia and me family too. They'd make sure we were taken care of. Mama Ruth's trial happened when Nadia was 3 months old. I had to testify, recount every beating, every cruel word, every moment of terror. It was traumatic but necessary. The prosecutor presented photos of my scars, medical records. Testimony from the soldiers who'd rescued me. Mama Ruth's lawyer tried to paint me as a liar, claiming grief made me delusional. But the physical evidence didn't lie. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in prison. She screamed at me from across the courtroom, cursing me, saying I'd stolen her son and her grandchild. Security removed her. I felt nothing but relief. After the trial, I moved to a small apartment near the base where David had been stationed. The military community embraced us. I had babysitters, friends, support I'd never experienced. I started therapy to process the trauma. It was hard, I had nightmares, panic attacks. Moments where I'd flinch at sudden movements. But slowly, I healed. Nadia grew into a bright, joyful toddler. She'd never know the horror of those months, never know how close we came to not surviving. One afternoon, Captain Hayes visited with news. He said, "We're establishing a support program for military widows in David's name, making sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. We want you involved, if you're willing." I said yes without hesitation. Working with the David Hale Widow Support Program gave me purpose. We created resources, safe housing options, regular check-ins, legal support for military widows. I shared my story at events, hoping it would encourage others to speak up if they were suffering. The response was overwhelming. Dozens of women came forward with their own stories of abuse from in-laws, family members, partners. We helped them escape, rebuild, reclaim their lives. Nadia turned 2, then 3. She was smart, curious, full of life. I told her about her daddy, how brave and loving he was, how proud he'd be of her. I showed her photos, videos, letters. She'd kiss his picture every night before bed. As for Mama Ruth, I heard she'd been denied parole twice. Apparently, she'd assaulted another inmate and shown no remorse for her actions. She'd written me letters from prison, vicious hateful letters blaming me for everything. I never responded. She didn't deserve my energy. On Nadia's 4th birthday, something unexpected happened. A soldier I'd never met showed up at our door. He introduced himself as Sergeant James Cooper, said he'd served with David. He said, "I have something for you. David asked me to hold on to it and give it to you if anything happened to him." He handed me a small box. Inside was a necklace with a locket. I opened it and saw a tiny photo of David and me on our wedding day, and an engraving that said "Forever protecting my girls." I broke down crying. Even in death, David was still watching over us. Sergeant Cooper said David talked about you constantly, about how strong you were, how you'd be an amazing mother. He knew you'd survive anything. Those words healed something deep inside me. By the time Nadia was 5, I'd rebuilt my entire life. I'd gone back to school, got my degree in social work, started working full-time with domestic violence survivors. My own experience made me uniquely qualified to help others. I could spot the signs, understand the fear, offer real solutions. I met someone, a teacher at Nadia's school named Michael. He was patient, kind, never pushed. He knew my history, respected my healing process. We took things slow. Nadia adored him. After a year, he proposed. I said yes, but I needed Nadia's blessing first. She said, "Mommy, Daddy would want you to be happy, and Michael makes you smile." That's all I needed. We got married in a small ceremony with David's military family present. Captain Hayes walked me down the aisle. I wore David's locket. It felt right, honoring the past while embracing the future. Mama Ruth was released from prison when Nadia was 7, having served her full sentence. I got a notification from Victim Services. I immediately filed a restraining order. She wasn't allowed within 500 feet of us. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she was living in a nursing facility, alone, bitter, no family willing to speak to her. Part of me felt sad for her. She'd destroyed her own life through hatred and cruelty. But mostly, I felt grateful that Nadia would never know that darkness. One evening, Nadia asked me about her other grandmother. I'd avoided the topic for years. I took a deep breath and said, "Sometimes people hurt others because they're hurting inside. Your other grandmother made very bad choices, and because of that, she can't be part of our lives." Nadia thought for a moment and said, "That's sad for her, but we have so much love here." Out of the mouths of children. She was absolutely right. We had love, safety, community, everything that mattered. Today, Nadia is 10 years old. She's smart, compassionate, fiercely protective of others. She volunteers with me at the Domestic Violence Center, helps pack care packages for families in crisis. She understands that her story started with pain but became one of resilience. I think about those dark months often, not with fear anymore, but with gratitude. Gratitude that David loved me enough to protect me even after death. Gratitude for Captain Hayes and those soldiers who saved us. Gratitude for my own strength that I didn't know I had. I've spoken to thousands of abuse survivors over the years, and I always tell them the same thing: you are not weak for enduring, you are strong for surviving. Abuse doesn't define you, how you rise from it does. Never be ashamed to ask for help. There are people who will believe you, who will fight for you. Mama Ruth taught me what cruelty looks like. David taught me what love looks like. And Nadia teaches me every day what hope looks like. The David Hale Widow Support Program has helped over 200 families in the past 8 years. We've expanded to include all military families facing domestic situations. We've saved lives. I know we have because those survivors tell me their stories, and I see myself in every single one. Last month, I received a letter from a woman I'd helped 3 years ago. She'd escaped an abusive situation with her children, rebuilt her life, and just graduated law school. She wrote, "You saved my life, now I'm going to spend my career saving others." That's the legacy. That's how we turn pain into purpose. If you're watching this and you're in an abusive situation, please hear me. You deserve safety, you deserve respect, you deserve love. Reach out. Call a hotline. Tell someone. Don't suffer in silence like I did. And if you know someone who's suffering, be the person who storms through that door. Be Captain Hayes. Be the soldier who notices the rope and the blood. Be the one who says, "I see you, and I'm going to help." To everyone who's been on this journey with me, thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. If you've ever felt trapped or seen someone suffer in silence, smash like, subscribe for more powerful rescue stories, comment save her below. Notifications on, next one hits soon. My name is Aisha, and this is how I survived, how I thrived, and how I'm making sure no one else has to endure what I did. Remember, You are stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and you are never truly alone. What did this story teach you? Let me know in the comments, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today.